In the NBA, sometimes a contract makes sense, until it doesn't. A team thinks they're getting the final piece, or maybe they're rewarding loyalty, but then the injuries start, the production fades, and all of a sudden, the front office is stuck paying $40 million a year for a guy they can't even play. In this video, we're breaking down some of the worst contracts in NBA history. From injured all-stars to overpaid role players, these are the deals that looked fine in the moment, but completely backfired. In the summer of 2016, the NBA salary cap exploded thanks to a new TV deal. Teams had money burning a hole in their pockets, and Memphis decided to bet big on Chandler Parsons. They offered him a 4-year, $94 million contract, nearly max money at the time, believing he could finally give them the scoring wing they'd been missing for years. On paper, it made sense. He was coming off seasons in Houston and Dallas, where he averaged 16 points per game, shot nearly 40% from 3, and looked like a perfect complement to Marc Gasol and Mike Conley. But beneath the surface, his knees were already giving out. In his first season, he played just 34 games, averaging a career-low 6.2 points. The next year, 36 games, 7.9 points, and by year 3, he only appeared in 3 games. Memphis paid nearly $1.3 million for every game Parsons played during that contract. Over 4 years, they shelled out close to $100 million for a player who never once reached double-digit scoring in a season for them. By the end of the deal, he had become the poster child for reckless spending in 2016. Memphis was stuck, unable to sign help, and weighed down by one of the NBA's most immovable contracts. A signing meant to change their future instead set them back years. Back in 2001, before the NBA had luxury tax penalties or supermax deals, the New York Knicks made a decision that would define their next decade. They signed Allan Houston to a 6-year, $100 million contract, which was a staggering figure at the time and one of the first true 9-figure deals in league history. He was a 2-time All-Star, one of the league's best shooters, and had already delivered big playoff moments for the Knicks. But the deal was a massive overcommitment to a player entering his 30s with many miles already on his knees. He played well in the early years, averaging over 20 points per game, but by 2003, injuries started piling up. Chronic knee problems forced him to miss over 120 games across the final 4 seasons of the deal, and by the time he retired in 2005, the Knicks had paid out nearly the entire contract while getting just 70 total games in his final 2 years. That's over $1.4 million per game late in the deal. It was so bad that the NBA literally created a rule, the Allan Houston rule, allowing teams to waive a player and get salary cap relief. The irony, the Knicks didn't even use it on Houston as his deal became synonymous with bad contracts in the early 2000s. The summer of 2016 wasn't kind to a lot of teams, but few signings aged worse than when the Los Angeles Lakers handed Luol Deng a 4-year, $72 million contract. At the time, the Lakers were desperate for veteran leadership. Kobe had just retired, and the team wanted a steady presence to guide its young core of Brandon Ingram, D'Angelo Russell, and Julius Randle. He had been a 2-time All-Star and an elite defender during his prime with the Bulls. But by 2016, he was 31 years old with a history of heavy minutes under Tom Thibodeau. The Lakers overlooked the warning signs, and the deal became a disaster almost immediately. In his first season, he averaged just 7.6 points per game while shooting 38% from the field. By year 2, his role completely vanished and he played just 1 game in the entire 2017 to 2018 season. The Lakers were paying him over $18 million per year to sit at home. Even after waiving him in 2018, they owed him money until 2022. To put it in perspective, during his Lakers tenure, Deng appeared in only 57 games while collecting $72 million. That's about $1.26 million per appearance, and for a franchise that was trying to rebuild, that dead money crippled their flexibility and became one of the most infamous contracts in Lakers history. If Luol Deng's deal was a disaster, Timofey Mozgov's might have been even worse because they happened on the same day. On July 1st, 2016, just minutes into free agency, The Lakers gave Mozgov a 4-year, $64 million contract. At the time, he was a 30-year-old backup center who had just fallen out of the Cavs' rotation during their final run. He played only 76 total minutes in the entire 2016 playoffs and still got handed life-changing money before most teams had even started meetings. What followed was exactly what you'd expect. He started 52 games for the Lakers in his first season, averaging just 7.4 points and 4.9 rebounds. His quickness was non-existent, he couldn't defend the pick and roll, and by the end of the season, the Lakers had shut him down to prioritize their young players. He never played for them again. The contract was so bad, the Lakers had to attach former number 2 pick D'Angelo Russell just to get rid of it, trading Mozgov to Brooklyn in a pure salary dump. Across his time with the Lakers, he earned $16 million per season for 1 year of underwhelming production. It became a punchline around the league, and to this day, Mozgov's contract is considered one of the most impulsive, head-scratching moves in modern NBA history. In 2019, the 76ers believed they had a generational star in Ben Simmons. He had just made an all-star team, was an elite defender, and looked like the perfect co-star next to Joel Embiid. Philly handed him a 5-year, $177 million max extension, expecting to build a championship core. The first major crack came in the 2021 playoffs when he infamously passed up an open dunk in Game 7 against Atlanta. The moment went viral and his relationship with the Sixers never recovered. He sat out the entire next season citing mental health struggles and refusing to suit up until he was traded. When Brooklyn finally acquired him in 2022, they hoped a change of scenery would reignite his career, and that didn't happen. The Nets paid him over $120 million, and in February of 2025, they bought out the remainder of his deal, swallowing tens of millions just to move on. He then signed with the Clippers on a vet minimum contract, a stunning fall from superstardom. What was supposed to be the foundation of a franchise has instead become one of the most expensive what-ifs in NBA history. When John Wall signed his 4-year, $171 million Supermax extension with the Wizards in 2017, it felt deserved. He had just made 5 straight All-Star teams, led the Wizards to multiple playoff runs, and was one of the fastest guards in NBA history. But the deal became a financial catastrophe almost immediately. He suffered a series of devastating injuries, first to his knee, then his Achilles. Between 2017 and 2020, while earning over $40 million per season, he played only 73 total games for the Wizards. In 2020, Washington traded him to Houston hoping for a reset, but it didn't work. He played just 40 games for the Rockets, averaging 20 points, but shooting only 40% from the field. After that, he barely touched the court again, missing the entire 2021-22 season, while being paid $44 million. By the time his contract expired, John Wall had earned over $171 million, while missing 75% of his games. Washington never recovered from the cap hit, stuck in mediocrity while paying superstar money to a player who wasn't there. It's one of the clearest examples of how a Supermax deal can completely paralyze a franchise when injuries strike. In 2021, Duncan Robinson was one of the NBA's premier sharpshooters. Just a year removed from helping the Miami Heat reach the finals, he had set franchise records for three-pointers and looked like a long-term offensive weapon. Miami rewarded him with a 5-year, $90 million contract, the largest deal ever for an undrafted player at the time. But almost immediately after signing, his role began to shrink. His shooting dropped to 37% from 3, still solid, yes, but no longer elite. His defensive limitations made it difficult for Erik Spoelstra to trust him in high-leverage moments. By the 2022 playoffs, he was completely out of the rotation, playing just 5 minutes total in an Eastern Conference Finals Game 7 while making nearly $18 million that season. Over the first 2 years of his deal, he averaged just 7.8 points per game, down from 13 the season before he got paid. He went from starting 72 games to just 10, and while his movement shooting remained dangerous, it wasn't enough to justify the price tag. He did bounce back somewhat during Miami's 2023 finals run and played more regular season games in 2024-25, But even now, he's still coming off the bench. Spoelstra continues to lean on more versatile defenders in the playoffs, and Robinson's contract remains one of the hardest to move in the league. Paying near-star money for a specialist who can't stay on the floor in big games is exactly the kind of roster mistake that quietly caps a contender's ceiling. When the Hornets signed Gordon Hayward to a 4-year, $120 million contract in 2020, it was seen as a bold move to add veteran stability next to LaMelo Ball's emerging star power. At his best, Hayward had been a 20-point-per-game scorer, an all-star in Utah, and a versatile wing who could create, shoot, and defend. But by the time he arrived in Charlotte, injuries had already begun to reshape his career. Hayward never stayed healthy long enough to justify the contract. In his first 4 seasons with the Hornets, he played just 44 games. The next year, 49 games. Then 50. Across his 4-year Charlotte tenure, he suited up for only 166 of a possible 312 games, missing nearly half of the team's contests while earning one of the richest deals in franchise history. The Hornets were paying close to $722,000 per game played. When he was on the floor, he was solid, but nowhere near the level Charlotte was paying for. His contract clogged up cap space during LaMelo Ball's critical development years, and the Hornets were unable to flip him for meaningful assets due to his injury history. He was eventually traded to the Thunder in 2024, but played a limited role before announcing his retirement in 2024 after 14 seasons in the NBA. The deal that was supposed to elevate Charlotte into playoff relevance became a defining symbol of mediocrity, a big swing that ended in quiet disappointment. Every one of these contracts tells a story. Teams taking risks, betting on talent, and sometimes getting burned in ways that still haunt their franchises. But here's the thing. In today's NBA, with supermax deals and a ballooning salary cap, the next worst contract might already be signed. It's only a matter of time before another team gets stuck paying superstar money for minimal returns. Which deal do you think is the single worst contract in NBA history? And which current player do you think is heading down the same path? Drop your takes in the comments below, because this debate is far from over. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you're subscribed for more deep dives into the biggest NBA what-ifs, disasters, and turning points that shaped the league we watch today.